Oh, wrong button. Boom. G'day, everybody. So here we are, and it's already 1:45 in the afternoon in Les Sables d'Olonne. Sorry about anyone that was waiting since the tracker update to get these answers of questions. I said I'd do it in an hour or so. Said I'd have breakfast and I'd come back. But then I took phone calls and an urgent email, and so it goes. Anyway, we're here. I haven't had lunch, doesn't matter. I had a big breakfast, and I'm going to answer all the questions. There's some really good questions at the moment, especially in YouTube. There's a whole bunch there. I didn't even realize until I opened it up about an hour ago how many questions were on YouTube, so that's cool. And then I've got the ones on Facebook, which I haven't even looked at yet. So, but I've got it in my phone ready to go. I've had to write down the questions on YouTube because I can't get YouTube as well as this on the way. So anyway, I hope I can read my writing. I just scribbled it all down, and I'll get straight into it. So if you're just joining this answer session, you'll have to go back and rewind once it settles and get the ones that you missed out on. So, and in fact, I meant to check something. I'm seeing on the first question, I didn't check it. So starting with the YouTube questions, I've got one here from from Nathan, sorry. Anita, something about sales. How's the sales working out? Sales are being affected badly by UV. I think you've probably seen that. And there will be a new set developed for the MGR in future. There'll be two types of sales. I've got another one down here. I'll elaborate on that a bit more in a minute. So I got a question from Nathan. Dan's not listed on the tracking page as retired for some reason. And in fact, I meant to check it and have a look and see what's going on. I don't know why. It's irrelevant. He has retired. Obviously, the boat's now being shipped to Portugal, and the boat has been sold. I think four of the boats are now sold, and we leave them there at the moment until the people who bought them make their public statement that they've got the boat. Okay, so and there's some classics there, and I'll give you a little hint. There's one lot. We talked about a two-handed transatlantic. We're allowing two-handed, right? Well, there's a two-handed couple, guy and his partner. I forget now whether they're actually married, but anyway, they just bought a boat each. So it's not exactly two-handed, but anyway, he got his boat first, 580, and she just went and got a 580 as well. So they're racing each other. It's quite something, and these are serious sailors, I've got to say. She's got about 50,000 miles, so they're going to have a lot of fun. Anyway, but we'll strike the boats off as sold as soon as they're announced publicly. So anyway, so that's pretty cool. I've got one here from Gorak. I think that's how it is on YouTube. Can we recommend a yard who might be able to build a 580 if they're not inclined to build it? Now, there's a short answer there. We don't get involved with recommending a yard or someone to build, because basically the challenge is simply this. The good news is this: that a carpenter, any ordinary carpenter, not a boat builder, could build a 580. Right? They're that simple. There is nothing complicated about building a 580. Now, what that'll tell you is a handyman who is just good at tools, right? That's got time and might want to charge you $30 an hour, right? Could happily build a really good 580. Okay, on Explorer, my Swan 57, when I employ a shipwright, it's about €70 an hour. Electrician, engineer, they're about £70 or more plus VAT on top of that. Okay, and so and I'm happy to pay it because they're really good workers. I've got great people working on the boat. When I say happy to pay it, I wish I didn't have to pay it, but that's fine. That's how business works. You know what I mean? And we've had a couple of 580s built by various boat builders in various parts of the world. And the one that was built in Holland ended up costing about €120,000. This was a few years ago. It was turnkey, beautiful build, beautiful boat for the owner. He was happy as, because all he wanted to do was just get a beautiful 580 and step aboard and go. And it was about €120,000 turnkey. So in other words, everything done, including they put the anti-fouling on the bottom, they put it in the water, they did sea trials, and when the owner turns up on the dock, at the outboard on the back of the boat, all that sort of stuff, bang, give them the keys, there's your boat, you pay, you go from there. So the best bet, if you don't want to build a boat, but you'd like to, because you could be in some other country, so that people now are in 37 countries around the world, just find someone that's able to talk boats, talk it up. Uh, you might find someone that can work for $30 an hour, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. And even though you're not building it, you'll be a bit involved, and it'll be a bit of fun and all that sort of stuff as well. So I don't want to go into it. Most of, or a lot of, the agents, the kit agents, can actually build a 580. They're set up they're selling the kits, and if you wanted to build one, they could possibly build it for you, or they can recommend someone locally. So talk to the kit agents. If you're getting a boat builder to build it, you would buy the kit for sure. So go talk to your kit supplier. They might have someone local that can do that as well. So that's my suggestion on that one. And the other one, of course, is that if you accept the fact that when a 580 finishes the MGR, some of the sails, or most of the sails, going to be a bit tired, so you can budget on a new set of sails. The standing rigging might not have been done recently, so you might have to replace the standing rigging. The battery on the outboard might be buggered. You might need a new battery on the outboard. The safety gear will need servicing, all that sort of stuff. But the boats are incredible value. Anyone buying a 580, if you don't want to build a boat, the boat itself, the hull, they're going to be going around the world regularly, right? You could, like when Trekkers finished the race, you clean out all earth and stuff, do a few bits, it's ready to go again. They're that simple. And they'll go round and round and round as long as they're looked after, as long as you keep the surfaces correct, painting and epoxy and all that sort of stuff. They'll go forever. So buying an existing second-hand boat is a really cheap deal, I've got to tell you. Any of the builders will tell you that. If they built one and have to sell it, it's like, oh, bugger. And a well-built one, and there's plenty of well-built ones. Gary mentioned it. Gary would probably sell his boat if he got the proper money for it, you know what I mean? Because he's a shipwright. He knows how much it would cost to build. So there you go. Okay. So, to build, Warren, did we debrief Eric on his safety thing? Yes, we did. We did at the time. There's some videos there as well. We spoke to him in bits and pieces. We had a full debrief, and I'm still yet to write the full safety report on that. We asked the entrants to fill out surveys, and not all of them have done that yet. I'm going to send that to some of the others that did the Transat as well, just get their opinions on a few things, and then we will release the report. It'd be great. I would have liked to have done it by now, but we're still chasing things and we're super busy. But it will happen. Don't worry. It's going to come out because there's some interesting findings there. So there will be a report on man overboard situations and so on. Nathan. Maybe it's a Nathan. Yeah, it's Nathan again. Lost track of Captain Coconut. He's out there. He's the last I heard. He was still in Richards Bay, I think it was. Went back to Australia for Christmas, to South Australia with his mum and family and stuff. Got back to the boat. He's doing a new paint job. He hadn't touched the paint since he left Adelaide 1.5 times around the world before or something. So he's putting a new, bright, new black. He's painting it black instead of orange. He's got sick of orange, and so it's going to be a black coconut. I thought it was silly. If he's doing a black coconut, you better do a brown one like a real coconut. So anyway, he's not following. He's officially retired from following the race and so on. So that's what happened there. But you can get onto his social media. You'll see, and you'll like the new black paint job. It's fantastic. He's going to put gold trim on it. I think black and gold. It'll be quite cool. Antarctica is the name of the person asking the question. Wanted to know more about national associations. Are they forming and stuff? So our role, for Jane and I, setting this whole thing up, is to get it going and keep it going and make sure there's interesting activities and it's promoted properly and all those sorts of things. And we invested a lot of time and money to get all that going, and it's going fantastic, and we're now running events. And you look at the only real official national association we have now is the German Association. And we have a process to assisting them set up, with the logos and all that sort of stuff and the style and permission to do different things. And they're going gangbusters. They're really having a lot of fun between themselves. There's 17 members. They've completely funded the display at Boot, the International Boat Show in Dusseldorf. We had nothing to do with it. We helped them get into a local German boat show 6 months ago, and a month before Boot, Tobias sent me a message, "Hey Don, we got into Boot." So we've done Boot 2 or 3 times in the past, and Boot organisers look after us, but we're too busy, and we're running on budgets now. I've got budgets for the 3 different events we do, and we haven't had the time and ability to go to Boot anyway, and we never scheduled it. So they're doing it themselves. We're looking forward to hopefully Spain. We're talking about doing an association. It's very easy to set up. It doesn't cost any money to set it up, all that sort of thing. But it keeps the groups together and they can look at local events. That's the key. So there's an argument to say there should be Spain. There's an argument to say there should be one in Australia. And there's a very good argument to say there should be one in England, in the UK. I keep talking to builders over there at different times, and I get the impression they want to get together and talk, but no one's done it yet. So we just talk it up. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, so be it. So that's it. So, and there is a process. We talk about that on the Class Globe 580 website. If someone wants to set up an association, how they do it. They've got to have at least 3 boat builders to do it. Jonathan was asking about we've now banned AI in all our events. That's GGR, OGR, and MGR, and Transat, because it was starting to piss me off. It still does. I like AI, first of all. Whilst Jane does a big part of what we do, we have an AI assistant that also does things for us, helps us on different stuff. And it's very valuable. And we use AI regularly for stuff, translations, taking notes of meetings, all sorts of things. We're using it, not super sophisticated, but we use it as a tool. The problem is now when you're looking at stuff, you don't know, even in news, when people are giving you news, you don't know what's real and what's not. So yes, the fire photo and statement as a joke in Cape Town triggered it. That was the sort of last straw. And so that's what happened. We didn't issue any penalties and bits and pieces on that. It was a bit of fun. Turns out all the people that were there, the one that made the joke against a particular person, they were all in the same room at Christmas having a good joke, thinking, why don't we do this? Well, it sort of backfired for a few of the other entrants, and ourselves included, and it could have been quite a lot worse than it turned out. Anyway, that's history, no penalties. And part of the question was, what's the deal? They're talking about the guy in Sydney Hobart race that set up his spinnaker the wrong way and got penalised, and it cost him the race, the Sydney Hobart race, for short-handed sailors that were lined up to win it. And another couple won it. But the only way, or there is an opportunity for us as an organizer, we have this thing: if someone puts a race into disrepute, we can kick them out of the event, right? So it's wide open for anything that is bad. But it never got to that. It was very unfortunate at the time. So AI is now banned, and that's pretty cool. But in normal rule infringements that even go outside of racing situations, put the event in disrepute for whatever reason, we can penalise with time, with fines, or kick him out of the race. That's the same for all 3 of the events that we run. Okay. I've got one here from Housebox. The quality of this TAS compulsory. He's asking about the qualifier for the next around the world race in 2029. There's a 3,000 mile qualifier, or you do the the transatlantic. And the transatlantic is now mandatory. If you're an EU sailor or a UK sailor, you have to do the Globe 580 Transat as your qualifier, right? Now, if you're in America, you don't have to do that, but it's been increased from, I think it was 1,200 miles to 3,000 miles. So you have to do a 3,000 mile solo non-stop qualifying voyage to be ready to go with the MGR out of Antigua. That's because we realise people need to be more organised and not be all stressing at the last minute and all that sort of stuff. So everyone knows way ahead of time, so there's no excuse on that. The other thing is we're still keen to encourage even the people in America to come across and be part of the Transat, because it was pretty clear, and it's no social comment on anything, but those that didn't do the transatlantic and turn up in Lagos and then go to Lanzarote and then sail across the Atlantic, which is settling down for the whole thing. If they just turned up in in Antigua, a few of the entrants and others have said that they miss out on something. They don't get to bond and connect from day one, so that they're all doing the same thing. And I get it. I also get that sort of comment as well. So to be part of the game, we really prefer that people try and organise and coordinate to get to Lagos, be part of everything that happens, settling in and all that sort of thing, and carry on. But if you there's parts there to encourage that process as well. So if you're in America or North America or Canada, you want to do something, yes, you can still sail to the start, but you need to do a 3,000-mile non-stop solo voyage to get there in Antigua. So if you do 2,000 and you have a problem and you stop, guess what? You haven't done your $3,000. That's the whole. So you start again. So you need to be really careful of what's going on and make sure. We always say, and in fact, it's interesting now. People have calmed down a bit because there's always this big rush. And when we announced the race in 29 some time ago, there was all these people, blah, blah, we can only have a maximum of 20 boats. I'll be very happy if we get 15 to 20, somewhere in there. And a lot of people say, how am I going to do it? There's not enough entries and blah, blah, blah. But people start to realise it's a big effort to make the start of the MGR, and I'll be really happy. And who knows how big the fleet will be. I think we'll probably fill up, but we're not going to fill up immediately. We're already taking entries now. But let's wait and see. So it'll be a bit of fun. Okay, so there's one here from Stephen. I was asking about is it Wind Rover or Ride Rover? There's a guy that was doing a lot of YouTube stuff, very, very popular on YouTube, and he did Wind Rover, I think it's called, a 650. He actually was going to build a 580. And everyone that gets interested in buying plans to build a 580 are there for a reason, either because they want to build a cool ocean-going boat, or they want to be part of events, or they want to face their own adventure in a group. Because to build a little plywood boat and sail across the Atlantic by yourself, totally by yourself, is a pretty big deal. If you're within a group, so there's 10 other sailors or five or six other sailors out there, it's a bit easier. It's a lot more fun, and you get to talk and chat with people and so on. Some people like doing that as well. Others are just doing it for a bit of club racing and so on. Anyway, Wind Rover, I think that was the boat. We had a couple of email exchanges. He was thinking about the 580, and then I think there was a couple of parts of that. He'd done a Contessa 26, I think it was, to go around the world, but never made it. Did the Atlantic, thought that's enough, came back. Decided he wanted to build a boat. This is my memory here. Saw what was happening with a 580 in the class, are pretty popular, and he was into his YouTube channel and thought he'd be better off doing his own thing. So he designed, or I forget, someone may have designed it, a nice shoebox type boat with a junk rig, no cockpit. You sit on deck, so it was all about down below. And he's been sailing it around and doing great YouTube entertainment, all that stuff. So it's cheese and chalk, and it comes down to the reason why you want to build a boat and why and where you want to sail. He's now retired. He's had enough. He's sailed around the Atlantic a couple of times, 2 or 3 times or something, doing different things, cruises, all that sort of stuff. And he's now retired, and he's gone back to his farm, and he's growing, doing all the things you do on a beautiful farm in the snow and in the sun and all that stuff. So he's having fun. So it's a nice boat, not for everyone, but I think there's a few of them being built now. I can't remember, but yeah, and some good entertainment there. I've watched a couple of his programs. Okay, so John wanted to know how we work out the number of days on the tracker. Okay, so the days on the tracker from the time a leg starts, wherever it was in the Pacific, some of the legs we start from Fiji, and then we go through from Fiji all the way to Cape Town. Whenever it's from start to finish, it shows you where they are, and it includes their stopover times, okay, in port. So if they stop for 5 days in Thursday Island, it's like as if they're still at sea for those days. And if they then stop in Cocos and so on, some stayed for 8 days, some stayed for 10 days. It just shows the whole time. And then we know the stopover times, so to work out the results, at the end we take all their stopovers out, and that leaves you with the exact number of days at sea. So in this particular leg, which we call in 3.5, they've all left Cape Town at the same time. They've had a 7-day stopover in St. Helena, and now they're going to Recife, and that's the end of that 3.5 leg. So Jasmine's the only one that wouldn't have stayed for 7 days. She may have stayed a little bit extra, but we've allowed that for free. But everyone else, you just take 7 days out of that time at sea, and you've got out of that time on the tracker, and you can see how many days they are at sea. But we don't tally all that up until the very end. So it's pretty simple, but it's a bit different based on the nature of what the MGR is. Guy called Boat Builder wants to know how the rig and the sails are performing, better or worse than we expected. I think the rigs are performing okay, except for the issue of the spreaders, which we've discussed on today on the tracker update. If you haven't seen that, have a look at that, and you'll see what we're talking about there with spreaders. That was a bit of a surprise, and we're working on that. We stopped ordering rigs in July. We've got a bit of a back order at the moment, and we've told builders not to bolt their chain plates on or build their mast base if they haven't already done it, because you've got to work out the position of your mast base. You've got to work out where the position of your chain plates are. And unbelievably, when we did a survey of the 11 MGR boats, some of them were like that far out. They were there, or not that far out. We haven't determined the datum, but there is dimensions available on the plans, and when they build the boat, it changes. So we're defining that, and we'll have more guidelines very shortly on that once we finish the deal with Selden on the rigs. The sails, UV is the only thing that's killing them. The rest of it's fine. Also, the issue of whether you leave your if you've got your asymmetrics and they're on a furler, you can't do a furler. You can, well, on a normal furler. So the A5 and the A3 and I keep getting mixed up because it's bigger. The A7 and the A5 have a straight luff, so you can use a normal continuous rope furling system on that and leave them up if you want. The A5 has got a curved luff. It's more like it's got a curved luff, and the only way you can furl that is with what's called a top-down furler. There's a different system. So you could use a top-down furler and leave that up the front of the boat as well. But when you do, two things happen. First of all, when you're furling it up, you're actually stretching the leeches and stuff, when it's going. And secondly, they're up all the time in the sun, so the leeches can get weak, and the leech will tear when you're out over time. If it's up for 3 months or 4 months or 7 months or 8 months in the sun, that can affect that as well. You talk to a guy like Kerry, he pulls them down, he sets them and puts them up and down like a dinghy, and when they're down, they go straight into a bag to keep them out of the sun, and they don't get the distortion and the stress on the material, so they'll last longer because they're not on the furling gear, but it's more work to get them up and down. Okay, the mainsails have taken a hammering because of the sun, and that's just UV again. But as I say, we're going to develop a new set of sails for. There'll be an MGR mainsail, there'll be an MGR jib, and there'll be an MGR 7, an A7, and that's probably all. Okay, and they'll be heavier and maybe more exotic cloth. So you can have a choice. You can buy the standard sails, which are fantastic for transats and for club racing and all that sort of stuff. They've got all the things you'd ever want, right? And you can do 2 or 3 transats with the mainsail and the sails. It doesn't matter. Maybe even more. You do 4 or 5 transats with the standard set of sails, no problem. But we'll build some high tech. When I say high tech, they'll have, maybe I won't go into it, but there'll be some better cloth for the mainsail and heavier cloth for the asymmetric and a few other things. So it's all going pretty well when you think about it, but not perfect. Milady is the handle on YouTube. Wants to know when you're going to get your bloody merchandise. To give you an idea, we had to send 2 packages out on Friday. I think we did it. One was to help another builder going into a boat show, and the other one was to send an ex-veteran actually from the Whitbread race early on heard that we'd issued a coin. We have a coin for the special gold coin for the OGR to commemorate the 50th anniversary, and we gave them to all the entrants in the race and all the Whitbread veterans that came to our functions. And the daughter heard about it, and she was desperate to try and get a coin. So we agreed to do it. So we sent it to her and her father, and the thing. It took us half a day. It took us to get the staff, book it all in online, get the labels done, package it all up, tape everything up, take up this big box of thingos, get in the car, go to the post office, couldn't get a park, put it in, get back here. We basically spent like about 4 hours. It sounds crazy, but just to do two little packages and stuff, it's half a day for us. And we're just so busy, it's crazy. And one day we'll get some sponsors, and we'll get more staff, and we'll be able to do things. So sorry for all those that are busting to get merchandise. We thought we could do it before Christmas. We couldn't. We're mindful that everyone wants it, and we'll try to do something, but we're just running out of time and so on. So we'll not sure what we'll do there. Anyway, so it goes. And was asking also about, likes the idea of having electric motors, no petrol on the boats, and she thought we didn't allow LPG on the boats as well, but we do, because all the jet bores have got LPG canisters. That's all fine. We just don't allow petrol outboards. They've got to be electric outboards. Generally, the entrants sort of hate them, but my attitude and my philosophy there is that these boats are meant to be sailing around the world without any motor, right? So, John Guswell used to have a little Seagull, one of my first ever. I love Seagull motors. They're fantastic. Anyway, but basically, it's a sailing boat. It's a voyage. It's an adventure, and you should be able to sail a little boat like that around the world without an engine. But getting in and out of ports is a tricky bit. So we said, right, we want a little engine, we want electric, and so on. And that's where we've ended up. And the outboards themselves are a tactical tool, because we wouldn't be able to determine who's using their motor and who's not. We've restricted battery power and solar panels so that they don't make perpetual motion and keep going. And so we said, if you've got an electric outboard, just use it, because the battery's going to go flat. And if you have to get a tow after you cross the finish line, it's a 12-hour time penalty. So you've got to have enough power when you get to the finish to get yourself into port. We don't want everyone relying on other people to get them into port. So it's a matrix, and it seems to be working. Anyway, last one, row something of Josh, super cool. I'm not sure. Shit, I can't understand my own writing there, so I'm not sure what that one was. Something about Josh. No, sorry, we've missed that one. So now I'm going to try and get to our Facebook questions now. I've got to scroll through here and find it, and then we can answer the Facebook group questions. So stand by. I had it all set up, but of course it shuts itself down, so now I've got to find it again, and I've got to go right back to the post. Also, while we're waiting for this, sorry it's taken me so long to answer the questions. We are busy, but usually I do it within a week, and again, then I get distracted and too many things happening and so on. We try to keep it to 2 questions per person. Must be getting close now. I can only go so fast because it stops me, but we're nearly there. There's Jonathan. Quite a cool dude, that one. I'm not sure what tortoise it is. It's like a Galapagos tortoise. Hang on, still coming. Come on. There it is, got it. Rightio. I want only 3 questions, 3 comments. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, most relevant. Hang on, I better go to all comments. Okay, from Beth. Okay, I just put a post up about you, Beth, about building. Sails. The rakes are allowed 7 sails plus a storm sail. There are 3 asymmetrics, a jib and a mainsail. That's 5. That's right. What are our intrepid racers carrying as their 2 allowed spares? It varies. It varies completely. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's actually 6. So you've got the storm jib, you've got the main, you've got the jib, and you've got 3 asymmetrics. So you're on 6 now. So you've got the whole wardrobe. You've only got 1 spare sail. Some are taking jibs. Some are taking extra asymmetrics. The 7's proving to be really popular. Jane just sent me a message. It was Josh about slowing down for weed on his keel. Sorry, going back to the last YouTube question. It was weed on the keel. Yes, he did have weed on the keel, and he got it off in the end, but he had to swim. Because they stream back, it's like kelp, big long trunks of it, and big leaves at the back, which slows you down a lot. it's hard to reverse the boat and get out. You can reverse the boat, but as soon as you do, because they're so long, it just wraps around the other way, and you can't sail out of it. So you're really committed to cut it out. So that's what he did. Anyway, so yeah, there's no. I haven't got on sales. I haven't got a list of who's doing what for the sales, but it makes some interesting tactics trying to work out which is the best way to go. But we will, a few things changing for the MGR next time. You've got a compulsory reefing head sail reefing system, so you have to have the reefing jib because there's a reefing jib and a hank jib. But next one, everyone's got to have a reefing gear on the jib, and we'll review a bit of that as well on the number of sails. We will allow 2 spare sails because one of the spare sails got taken up by the A7. So it'll be a 6-sail wardrobe with 2 spare sails that they'll take. That'll be a change to the notice of race, but that's how it'll work. I know some of them have spare jib, as they sometimes have both jibs and furler. What about the second spare? Is there a common choice, or did many of them not carry the allowed spares? Yeah, many didn't take the allowed spares. Some didn't even take maximum number of sails. Given the wear and tear, is there a clear good choice now for spares to carry? The wear and tear is all about UV breaking down the material, and hopefully that'll be resolved. We will get something that's a lot more durable and UV resistant for the mainsail, but it'll be a heavier main. It's not the main that it'll cost more. It's not the main that you'd take in club racing or a transat because it's just heavier and it's going to be more expensive, and you don't need it. So, but anyway, that's going to take. It'll probably be 3 months before we're at a point where we know exactly what that's going to be. I'm just going to start to talk to sailmakers now. I've already started. Well, the conversation sort of started. Anyway, so no advice yet, Beth. You'll have time to work that out and talk to entrants as well, because we will have an entrant group. There'll be a private group of. I decided this the other day. We'll have a private group of all Transat and MGR sailors, so they can talk between themselves. And anyone who enters the race and pays their entry fee, they'll actually get access to that group as well, because there's a lot of shared knowledge there. And I thought that's the easiest way to do it. So there'll probably be a WhatsApp group, and the only way in is to have previously done a Transat, MGR, or be a paid up entrant in the next edition. And then you can ask questions as you wish, and they'll hopefully answer. Rachel, 2 questions, Rachel. I think I can see 4 or 5 already. There's been much talk of the fleet about wear and tear on their sails. I've just talked about that. Given the great emphasis on using a sextant on their passages Portugal to Panama, how many of the fleet are continuing? There's no one in the fleet that I know of that's continuing to use their sextant, even for fun now. They did a little bit. And the rules have been very clear in the past, but we had to allow people a degree of latitude because they couldn't do it. They were supposed to be able to show that they can use a sextant before the start. They couldn't. We gave them extensions. That's not going to happen in the next race. And even for the Transat now, for the Transat, you have to show and prove that you can do what's called a meridian passage that's taken noon sight, which gives you an east-west position line. So if everything failed, if the GPSs went down, if World War III started, you'll be able to use your sextant to find Antigua, sailing down your latitude. But for the MGR, you have to be able to be fully competent on taking all morning sights, afternoon sight, meridian passage, so on, and do celestial fixes to determine exactly where you are. And if you haven't got that by the time you're in Antigua, you will not start. We're black and white, no questions asked on that. It'll be terrible because they'll be sitting there at the start thinking, I can't go, because they can't pass their navigation, because it was getting a bit much what was going on in this one. I mean, people knew, but they didn't care, and so we had to keep helping them. But that's the inaugural race. Okay, if you can pick any moment from the race lead up to the race, the times important, your own personal favourite to date, what would it be and why? I think Fiji was pretty radical for me. I like Fiji anyway, but it was really amazing because you're out of if nothing else, you're in paradise. You've got palm trees, you've got beautiful blue water, you've got fantastic weather, you've got great sailing, even though Tonga to Fiji is always challenging. But we were just a long way from home. And so Fiji was a very poignant moment in a lot of ways. I really thought that was pretty cool. Having said that, it was like a wow factor getting into Cape Town as well. So because then it's like, hey, we're all going home now. So that was pretty interesting. Oh, jeepers, I think I'm going to have to have shorter questions, Rachel. General discussion on planning adventure. We can't get into that because it's not 580. That's just normal one. How do you go about sponsors? No, that's not 580. So, but anyway, that's a whole subject in itself, Rachel. I don't want to put you off there, but we've been up for 30 minutes already, and I try to keep it to 30 minutes now anyway. So, okay. Accidental boot. I'll just see what's comments here. Only seeing 3 from storing an accidental boot. I'm not sure what. Oh no, is he forgetting about the comments again? No, what comments? There's none here. Okay, storing it. No. So why do we not see sailboats in the Bay of Bengal or Indian Ocean? That's a really interesting point, actually. It's a good question. As you may or may not know, I'm quite good friends with Tommy, who did the 2018 Golden Globe race and also the 2022 Golden Globe race. He actually came second in that, Avalish Tommy. And he's Indian, very well known in India because of what he was doing. He spent time in the Air Force, or flying. He's in the Navy, actually, I think it is. He's flying off aircraft carrier and stuff. And he had the big rescue in the 2018 race, so a lot of people following him. Anyway, we've discussed often about the situation of sailing in India, and it needs to set up an infrastructure. It's got to start with little boats and clubs and all this sort of stuff. And I don't call it cultural because I think the Indians are really quite good mariners. You know, they've had all sorts of boats sailing and commercially over hundreds of years, things like that. But it's a very complicated question why they're not there. And it starts from the yacht clubs, you know, trying to get small boats accessible for anyone to try and go sailing. You know, there's a lot of people in India. I know that's a challenge. But there've been a few Indian sailors come out into the international sailing world, you might say, to do different things. And then, of course, the Navy's promoting it. They've got 2 Vanderstat 56-foot yachts that they use, and they've well, Tommy was the first Indian Navy guy to do a solo non-stop around the world in one of those boats. And then Dilip, who was the first Indian sailor. Dilip was, I forget his rank, he was in the Navy as well. He's a commander, forget whatever. He's a very good friend of Robert Knox Johnson. He went around the world solo with 3 or 4 stops. He was the first Indian Navy sailor or Indian sailor to do that. So solo around the world with a few stops, okay? And he's, as I say, he and Sir Robin are very good friends. And then Avalish used that same boat to sail solo non-stop around the world while he was in the Navy. And then he transitioned from there to build a replica of Suhaili and entered the 2018 GGR. So, and then since then, we've discussed different things. The Navy have sent that boat around with an all-women crew, right? They built another boat. They 2 identical boats. They sent it all around with Navy officers and sailors. And then they sent it around just last year, 2-handed around the world with 2 female Navy officers. And it sort of leads me to think, oh, maybe they're setting up to send now a solo Navy officer around the world, a female officer around the world. I'm not sure. I suggested they should put both Navy boats in the OGR and have an all-male crew on one of them for Indian Navy boats and an all-female crew on the other one. It'd be fantastic because we had the Brits looking at putting a boat in the OGR as well. But I haven't heard how that's going. It may not happen yet, but there's quite an effort to make that happen. We've got some big things happening with the OGR at the moment. But anyway, so I digress. So it is a complicated argument. It'd be great to see more Indian kids sailing and traveling the world and just sailing locally. Sailing is good, makes people understand responsibility and, sort of risk assessment, blah, blah, blah. So it goes. Okay, finally got the questions. Thanks very much, everybody. And we'll do it again. And I promise next time we do it, I'll answer the questions as soon as they fill up. So see you later. Thanks.